make a little shortening bread. Mammy's little baby loves shortening, shortening. Mammy's little baby loves shortening bread. Mammy's little baby loves shortening, shortening. Her little baby loves shortening bread.
Hi, I'm Phoebe Jeebies, and welcome to Phoebe Gets Baked, the show where I teach you how to bake some of my favorite recipes. Today, we're going to be making shortbread, my special recipe. Only 5 ingredients. Ingredient 1, 1 cup of room temperature butter. Woo. Ingredient 2, vanilla extract. Ingredient 3, salt. Ingredient 4, powdered sugar. And the final ingredient, flour. Good thing there's no yeast down there. This was the very first thing I learned to bake. And back then, I also did not have a standing mixer. And I used a hand mixer, or even a whisk. So, you can do this. All you have to do is cream the butter. It's just easier with a standing mixer, and I spent 2 hours getting it a drag, so I'm gonna use a standing mixer. Sue me. Anyway, let's get started. Our butter is room temperature. Now, if you take your butter out of the fridge, you're gonna wanna let it sit for at least 15 minutes. I ideally like to do 30 minutes. That helps it get soft enough. Try to avoid putting it in the microwave. It's gonna make the outside all melty and the inside's still gonna be cold. It's just easier to be patient. And I know you have the time because we're not allowed outside. I always start by creaming the butter by itself, just to get it going, just in case you didn't get to room temperature enough. Our butter is in the mixer, and we're gonna get it going. Start it on slow speed. Speed it up. Speed it up. Now we're creaming. Now, we're gonna use a cup of powdered sugar. I didn't measure these out before because I want to show you something that's very important in baking, for anybody who's very new to it, leveling. So, if we went in, that's not a cup of sugar. That's not a cup of sugar. Just take a butter knife and level it. Now that's a cup of sugar. Okay? Ooh. Now we're creaming. Sugar goes in. Start it slow, or you're gonna end up wearing a face of sugar. We're gonna speed it up a little. Oh! Oh! It's looking good. So there's 2 more things we're gonna add now. Salt. From what I read, if I remember correctly from a long time ago, Queen Victoria, don't Google that, really liked salt in her shortbread, and that was the first time that people liked salt in their shortbread, apparently. That's maybe a thing. And we're gonna do 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Now, pour over it so you don't make a mess. I'm gonna have the camera come take a look so you can see what this is supposed to look like. All right, so everything's creamed and incorporated. The last ingredient is the flour. And we're gonna do 2 cups of the flour. Now, you need to incorporate this gradually, or number 1, you'll be wearing it, or number 2, it'll just never all mix together. That's usually a good rule of thumb for anything in baking. If you think you're about to add a lot of something to a small amount of something,
So there's something on my face.
do it slowly. All right, 2 cups of flour, and we're gonna level them like I showed you. Wow, so simple. I'm gonna do about a half of this cup, so we're due about 4 installments of adding in the flour. And now at this point, it should be starting to look almost like a dough. It should come together. If it doesn't come together, you can add some water. You don't want to add too much water. I would say no more than a tablespoon, and that will help it come together. If it still doesn't come together, send me a message and we'll figure out what went wrong. If it looks like this, you're probably on the right track. Somebody just asked me, can you eat this? I mean, yes. Raw flour, it's really hard for your intestines to digest, and sometimes it might make your stomach hurt. But you know what? You do you.
Choices.
Especially once food starts to run out. Maybe we'll all be eating flour. Our next step, if it comes together, is going to be to clear off your station, clean it, and then we're gonna lay down some flour, and we're gonna work with our dough and roll it out. Anyway, first we're gonna take some flour and just kind of give a good sprinkling. Just give it a good, generous spritzing, because this helps it from sticking to your counter when you start working with it. And just bring it all out. And it's gonna seem crumbly, but when you push together, it should just come right together. All right. And we're just gonna get a rolling pin. So what you also wanna do, put a little flour on your rolling pin. Just gonna make your life easier. And you just kinda roll it out. So, I forgot to mention 2 things that I did before starting this step, which was I got out a baking sheet and I lined it with parchment paper. If you don't have parchment paper, you can use foil, that's fine. Mine looks like this. And I also preheated my oven to 300. And for any of our international people, that's 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So we're rolling this to about 1/2 inch. I'm saving half of this. Stay tuned and you'll see why. If you're gonna use this the night, the next day, even the day after, you can put it in the fridge. If you're gonna wait any longer than that, you should stick it in the freezer. So we're just gonna make cookies out of this little portion here, because I've got another grander purpose for that other half of the shortbread. So I have, just get a ruler, a tape measure, anything. I have on this. It's about 8 inches. So it's about 8 inches.
That's what she said.
It's about 8 inches, so we're gonna do 2 inches. And then this way it's about 6, 10 inches. So we're gonna do each one about 3 1/3 inches just because I want them to be all the same size. So if yours is like 10 inches by 8 inches like mine was, well, congratulations, it's really big.
That's what she said.
You're just gonna kind of try to divide it up evenly if you can. 3 1/3. And then just go along like a grid. We made about 12, not about 12, we made 12. Approximately 12 exactly. And remember this was just about half, so you could probably make around 24. I don't know, you're picking your size. It's not that serious, it's shortbread. So something that's very important to do with this type of dough is you dock it. And docking means that you're gonna put holes in it because there's this butter inside the dough. It's gonna steam and your shortbread are gonna puff up. So you're just gonna take a fork. You thought it was empty. We're gonna dock it. And that's why in a lot of the shortbread cookies you've seen, they have these patterns on them that looks like they were poked. It's docking. So the last thing we do now is we put them onto our baking sheet. So now, like I said, we're gonna pop these in the oven for about 18, 19, 20 minutes until they get about golden brown, the edges start to crisp, and it's at 300 degrees. Let's do it. Woo! All right, so it's final steps. We took them out of the oven. They did end up going in for about 20 minutes, maybe even 21 minutes. So maybe 18 to 21 minutes. It really does depend on your oven. The way you can tell they're done, they should be starting to brown around the sides, and the bottom should look like that. Like a nice golden brown. So as long as they look like that on the bottom, you're golden. Ha! You're golden! All right, so the last step, I'll just literally go in here and scoop up some powdered sugar and just and voila, it's my shortbread. It's really easy. I hope you enjoyed this video. There will be more to come, hopefully, during this scary time. Hopefully this brings you a little joy and gives you something to do at home. I know we all have way too much time at home. If you're watching this and you don't follow me, at Phoebe Jeebies NYC on Instagram, tell your friends, share it, and everybody get baked together. Thank you.
loves shortening. Mammy's baby loves bread. Mammy's baby loves shortening.
I love shortbread.
Mammy's little baby
Now,
loves
while this
shortening.
mixes, you have time to feel your
Mammy's baby
oats. Oh, so
loves
beautiful.
shortening. Oh, Mammy's baby loves to have a shortening bread. Shortening bread is always singing out, singing out, da da. Oh, shortening to da 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 da. Oh, Mammy, give us that bread.
Your socks.
Oh, don't even talk about it. And my hairy legs. Nobody knows.